everyone. Thanks so much for joining today for our 40 Top Virtual Interview Series. Today, I will have the opportunity to sit down with our Small Communities Big Solutions 2022 advocate, Dr. Drema Hill. Drema is Vice President for Community Engagement and Development at the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine. Before we dive into Drema's interview, I wanted to just share a little bit about the Alliance for the Economic Development of Southern West Virginia, which is the host of this 40 Top Virtual Series. So the Alliance is a higher education collaborative made up of 11 higher education institutions in Southern West Virginia. You can find those listed right here on the screen. So we just recently added the University of Charleston, and we are so excited for their partnership. The Alliance is covers a 21 county footprint. We're really project-based, results-driven, and we serve over 30,000 students. One of our projects that we're currently working on is our West Virginia Small Business Leader Survey. And so if you own or operate a business in West Virginia, please consider taking this survey today. This will help us better understand what the current issues are for small businesses and really identify areas for potential growth. You can find the survey link right here on the screen. I'll also drop that down in the chat below to make that easier to access. Last year, we had an overwhelming response. We had 605 business leaders participate in the survey, with 483 of those being in Southern West Virginia. So we're really excited about the survey again this year, and we're really wanting to get to that number again this year, if not more. So please help spread the word, or if you are a business or if you are an owner or business operator, please consider taking the survey today. So we're so excited to announce that our Small Communities Big Solutions Conference will be back in person this year. We had 2 years of virtual due to COVID, but we are excited to be back meeting in person. Save the date, November 15th through the 17th, and we will be at the University of Charleston. We're so excited for the University of Charleston to host us this year, being one of our Alliance partners. So make sure that you are staying up to date by going over to our conference website, wvsolutions.net. And each year, the Alliance partners with Coalfield Development and the West Virginia Community Development Hub to really spotlight Southern West Virginia. And this event really showcases all of the work that's going on across the state. And we bring together a mix of community leaders, educators, businesses, public officials to really share ideas and learn from one another and just share what's really working well in the state. So please be sure to put these dates down on your calendar and join us this year in person for year 5. So with the conference every year, we honor individuals, employers, nonprofits, organizations, institutions who are really creating a positive change in their neighborhood, community, and state with our Power of Performance Award. So we're so excited to have this award ceremony back in person again this year. Nomination will open July 1st. So please head over to our website, wvsolutions.net, to submit a nomination then. We also encourage self-nominations. So please, if you would like to be considered for this recognition, please submit a nomination form on July 1st. So we also recognize at our conference a Small Communities Big Solutions advocate every year. And this year we honored Dr. Drema Hill. Drema represents all of the qualities that we look for in our Small Communities Big Solutions advocate. We're all about celebrating the doers in our state, and the Advocate Award really recognizes an individual who is a true trailblazer in their community and state. And I could not think of a better person who deserves this recognition than Dr. Hill. I've had the pleasure of working with her through the Alliance, and she is just so dedicated to her community and state. And it is really a true honor to be chatting with her today and learning a little bit more about her. So I'm just going to go ahead and read her bio. Drema was born and raised in rural Boone County, West Virginia. She's a product of Appalachian culture. She's a true trailblazer in public health sector for West Virginia. And in her current role, she leads a team of health professionals that provide outreach, education, and community engaged research projects statewide through innovative projects and collaborative partnerships. She is active locally, statewide, nationally, and internationally in public health organizations. She has 35 years of experience in public health, with 25 years being in public health administration. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go over to the interview portion with Dr. Drema Hill. Thank you again, Drema, for being here with us today. We are so glad to have you and for you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. So thank you very much. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, and you gave me an award, so of course I'm going to spend time.
That's very true, very deserving. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of dive straight in. So I read your bio. Is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself that I didn't mention?
Well, I think most people in this state know it, but I'm all about small community infrastructure, and I like to talk about it a lot because I think that a lot of times we get a lot of money, which is great, and we put it at a problem because we know we have the problem, which is also great. You know, I don't think anybody intends anything other than good out of that. But the problem that happens is if the infrastructure isn't built underneath that, yes, the money can be spent for whatever that purpose is at the time, but there's no long range planning. So then we have pockets of money where we can do great things, and then the money ends, the program's gone, and you can't get the service anymore. So I'm all about building that infrastructure that is prepared to accept these dollars, you know, use them for the intent, but also build sustainable programming. And the only way you can make it sustainable is to have that underlying infrastructure.
Yeah, that's very important. I'm glad that you added that in there. So what was it about community health, community engagement that really attracted you to the field? I mean, how did you get involved in the work?
Well, this is another thing a lot of people may not know. I don't know why, because I talk about it openly all the time because it's an important part of who I am and what made me interested in public health and getting people involved. But I was a teen unwed mother in West Virginia, in a very rural southern county of West Virginia. And so the services, you know, I continued to work, and I wasn't on public service, but I tried to get daycare, you know, so I could work because, you know, they offer daycare. And I was $1 over income and could not get daycare services. And I actually worked for the Bureau of Public Health. So that made me feel like we really needed to do something. And I got very interested in it. I was very interested in pediatric care because of my child. And so I started working for the Bureau of Public Health when she was only 6 months old. And so she kind of grew up in that Bureau of Public Health. And, you know, I made sure she was on her periodicity schedule for all her immunizations and, you know, but I got on a mission to educate young girls about choices and how important it is, the choices that you make, to be prepared when you find yourself in a situation. And then I got really interested in public health as I went along through the system, you know, as my daughter grew up and learned more about public health. And so I've always worked in community. But, you know, I came from a small rural West Virginia community. And so I understand how important it is to have that leader in that community who, they may not be a health professional, but they're a leader in the community, and people trust them and listen to them. And so that's what got me really interested in just overall health in a community setting.
That's so great. And I think that's a lot of West Virginians. They become passionate about their field very early on. So it's really neat to kind of hear about where you got started in your field. So that's very awesome for you to share that with us. Why do you believe that community engagement is so important?
I think it's because communities know what the issue is. If there's an issue in a community, they know what their problem is. They don't need somebody from the state or the national government to come in and say, oh, here's your problem, why don't you fix it? You know, they need people to come in and listen and say, okay, what do you all think is going on in your county? What would make your county a healthier county? What would make your county a better place to live, kind of thing. And then they will tell you. And I have never in West Virginia pulled out a table in any community, opened up the chairs and said, everybody come and talk about this. We're going to talk about this problem and see what we can do about it. Or, we're going to talk about the good things and the bad things and see, how to work with your community. People come. I did a grant writing workshop one time. Well, I do a lot of them, but I did one in Wyoming County. And we had 26 people from 7 counties came just to come to the table to talk about how we could, help to fund some small nonprofits. So people, they want to be engaged, but sometimes you have to ask them, sometimes they don't just, come forward because, either they're not, they feel like they don't have anything to contribute. But if you ask them, they'll tell you, what the issues are. And then our job as folks in public health is to give them the tools they need and the resources and the help that they need to be able to bring their communities. And see, that's part of the infrastructure building we were talking about. If they can understand that they can make a difference, then usually they'll try.
Yeah, those are great points. I know that WVSOM has so many successful projects and initiatives, but is there one that's going on right now that you're really excited and proud of? And you want to talk a little bit about what those are?
I'm just so proud of everything that happens in this center. I'm telling you.
Of course.
It's like I got to the mecca of community health because President Nimitz here at the school has just been so he's allowed me to take ideas that I've known would work for years and actually implement them. And so that's the real blessing. But the one I love that we've got going on now is CareCorps. And this is it's a new funding stream for us. It's federal funding, but what it does is it allows people who want to volunteer to help other people who are, maybe it's most of them are like able-bodied seniors who live on a fixed income, and they have a neighbor who needs the dog walked or groceries brought in because they are disabled and unable to do for themselves. And so it pays a stipend to that senior who is able-bodied to help the senior who is not. And it's people in their neighborhood. So it's like neighbors helping neighbors. We came up with it, the idea because of during COVID. We worked with some folks around town. There was a team of us, and we kept the idea actually came from an attorney downtown, but we put restaurants. We connected the restaurants downtown who were going to close because of COVID with a program we have with grants and donations to feed seniors, and we fed 700 seniors a day during COVID. And we had volunteers going out all over the county, our Senator Baldwin and Tammy Tincher, they were all part of it. And we delivered food so our seniors wouldn't have to come in town and get exposed during the heavy heat first days, first months of COVID. And so that kept our restaurants open. So that was an economic development piece because we kept the restaurants open because people had jobs to come in and prepare the food. So out of that, we realized the need in our senior population and disabled population for folks to come in and do things that, government pays for a lot, but they don't pay to walk the dog. And they don't pay, when the doctor says on your walker, you have to get up and walk a half an hour a day, but there's nobody there with them. They're seniors and they're afraid to get up and walk. But if you have somebody who comes, just sits with them, or somebody who reads to them, or goes and gets their groceries, mows their grass, weed eats. We just got a lot of volunteerism going on. What I love about it, the funny thing is we couldn't hardly get people to take money. They were volunteering, but they was, oh, no, you don't have to pay me for that. I'd help Susie anyway. And we're like, you have to take the money or we won't get the grant anymore. So if you don't want to keep it for yourself, turn around and donate it to somebody else. But anyway, it's just a great community project, and we're really enjoying it. And I think we're doing a lot of good in our community with it.
That's so great. I mean, there were so many great initiatives around COVID, so that program is just so neat, especially, like you mentioned, for the businesses who were really struggling, and
Mhm.
that's just so great. So I'm going to shift a little bit. So what should people know about West Virginia? Because I know there's a lot of misconceptions at times, and that people, that never been to West Virginia, what should people know about our state?
Well, it's beautiful. I've traveled a lot and I've never seen any place that was more beautiful than West Virginia. But it's also home to people who are even strangers to West Virginia, like John Denver. Look at him. He wasn't from here, but he came in and wrote our state song because it felt like home to him. So the people of West Virginia are caring people. They always want to help each other. It's neighbor helping neighbor. What I find that we don't like as Appalachians is don't tell me what to do. Ask me what I would like to do. And that, I don't see anything wrong with that. Then I'm an Appalachian. Don't tell me what to do. But, you can ask me and I'll give my input, but I think that is has been a lot of the problems with us trying to get things going in West Virginia sometimes is that, leaders will come in and go, here, let me fix this problem for you. Or, I know what your problem is, let me fix it for you. And, I just think that's the wrong approach if we want to really move healthcare forward in West Virginia. But I would want people to know that, you won't find, like I said, people come around the table, people, they'll talk to you and they want to be helpful. They don't want you in their business, but, I mean, I'm an Appalachian. I don't want people in my business either, unless I choose to share it, So it's I just think there's no place like home. I'm like Dorothy. There's no place like home. So it's home to me.
Right. That's so true. And just for me, I think West Virginians are so willing to help you, especially, in the professional setting, anytime you need a mentor, you need advice, or you need anything like that. I just feel like there's that whole sense of community, regardless of what sector you're in. And I think even with the Alliance, we've learned, how you can come together and partner and be a community and all of that. So I think that's just another important thing to add on that as well. So we've heard already that you're super busy. You've got all these great things you're working on. And but what do you do when you have a little bit of time off? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy to do?
I love to travel. I just love anywhere I haven't seen. I want to see it. So I have a great wanderlust. I have since I was younger. I got to actually go to Hawaii last year, which was something my mother and I talked about a lot. We had a little travel books, there in rural Boone County. And we would look at them. We'd always look at pictures of Hawaii. And, she's passed on, but I thought while I was there, well, I hope she sees me in Hawaii. I think she did. But, Ireland, Italy, I love to see the world. And I love to see the United States. I've seen a lot of it. And I just enjoy travel. I even enjoy just getting in the truck on a Sunday afternoon and taking a road trip around West Virginia. So I would say that's probably my most relaxation and reading. I read a lot. So for business and for pleasure, I love to read a good book.
Well,
Not much exciting, am I?
Oh, well, that kind of leads into my next question. You said you're so into travel. What's your favorite place in West Virginia?
I'd have to give that to Boone County.
I figured that's what you'd say.
Well, I grew up in Boone County, and it was good to me. And an interesting fact is that I was there during the time of Jay Rockefeller's visit to Emmons. I lived in the next little town up from Emmons where he was. So I thought he was a traveling preacher when I was a little girl, and of course that also tells how old I am. But anyway, I thought he was a traveling preacher, and I told him that in later years, that I thought he was a traveling preacher, and he thought that was hysterical, that I said, well, you were always, smiling and you were kind, and so that's what I thought. But I also think that he gave me a view because the stories he would tell about New York and things to the kids, I can see him now sitting on a rock, talking to I think it gave me an idea that there was a world out there bigger than Boone County, and bigger than what I grew up with. But I love Boone County. I think it's a beautiful county. I think it's got wonderful people, and I enjoy, going over there to visit, anytime I can. And of course, all of my childhood friends are there, and my cousins and my family, and our home place is there. So I'd have to say Boone County, although West Virginia, Greenboro County is just gorgeous down here with all the outdoor things to do. And, economic development certainly is, things are moving, here. And the northern part of the state, up around, we've got Cass and the Blackwater Falls and Seneca Rock and, Canaan, all of that. You can't really find a bad place in West Virginia. That's the truth about it.
No, that's very true. And I mean, just your all's campus, your home away from home is just beautiful. I mean, if the people watching today haven't got a chance to visit campus, they should. I mean, it's just breathtaking.
And there's a virtual tour online. So,
that's
www.wsom.edu.
Oh, great. Love the virtual life. I will make sure to put that down in the chat for anyone who wants to check that out later after the interview. So my next question, Drema, is what advice could you share with individuals watching today that may want to get more involved with economic or community development?
I'd say connections. The more connections you have, the better. And that's why the conference is so good, because, it's that networking and connections piece. It's, the more you get involved. And, I'll say this about myself. When I was younger, for those of you watching who are my age and remember me back when, I was one of those sign carrying people who I just don't like inequity. And I really want, equality for people, and I want equity in services, and I want social justice and all those things. So I was sort of this, maybe not literally, but sign carrying person who, we got to do this right. We got to do this, always, advocate for the people and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized that I could talk all I wanted to, but if I didn't get some education and learn how to write the policy that impacts the world, so it's sort of be the change you want in the world, then I wasn't going to do much good. I could lament and I could be upset and I could, talk about it, but I would rather do something about it. So I think that's important too. I mean, when you're going to work on anything that has to do with community and economic development, is to be able to, it doesn't mean a formal education, but educate yourself about the policies and the practices and what's going on in the area you're going to be working in, and, what is the need, and then make those connections with people who can get you in the door of what it is that you need to do. And like you said, partnerships in West Virginia are so easy to do, because if you just talk to people, like I'll have, I had a thing we were thinking about writing a grant recently. We ended up not doing it, but I just sent out an email to everybody and said, we're thinking about doing this. Is anybody else going to do it? Because if you are, we won't do it. We just partner with you to do it. And, so while there is some competition, which I think is healthy, there's not a lot. I think people really tend to work together here. But yeah, my advice would be make those connections and just educate yourself about whatever it is that you want to see happen.
That's right. And you kind of answered my next question that I had for you, talking a little bit about the importance of partnership and collaboration. Is there anything else you wanted to add from that? Or
it works.
Yes, it definitely works.
It should work. It's how you can, and it's not just in-state partnerships. A lot of national connections I've had and national partnerships, have really made a difference. And if you really want to make a difference in your state, become a part of, the National Rural Health Association or the American Public Health Association. I sit on the strategic planning committee for my section of the APHA, just to make sure that I'm a part of that national policy scene to help, guide direction for what happens in the state. So I encourage people to do that, get as involved, in the state level organizations and also in the national organizations.
Yeah, and that, just like with the Small Communities Big Solutions Conference, it's really just a great way to see what's working for other people, maybe in their community. And, just talking with some individuals at the conference, they attend conferences outside of West Virginia, so they can bring that knowledge back. And so that is just so important too, just making, those connections outside of the state as well. So I'm glad you brought
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in our 4th year of I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brittany.
Oh no, you're fine. We're actually year 5, so we're really excited for the
You're
conference.
right. I think there were 4 of them because I remember the very first one
Yeah.
when we did the sort of best practices thing
Mhm.
and everybody was talking about what they did around the state. Man, I made connections because as soon as I heard something I liked, I called them. How did you do that? And what is it that you're doing? Or hey, we've got that program. We're doing the same thing. Why don't we partner on this or that? Or let's share what each of us are doing because we might be able to make our programs better and things like that. So yeah, that the conference is really good for that. And who knew it would take off the way it has? I mean, it has really become the premier conference. I mean, it's a really premier. Well, I can't say they because I'm on the board of the Rural Health Association too. But it's a great
Right.
conference. But I mean, the conference, the Alliances conference is a big conference, and it has a totally different feel. And that's the thing. Don't think that, well, if I go to this conference and I don't need to go to this one because I'm going to get the same thing. You really don't. The Alliance conference is totally different. It is really focused on that bridge between healthcare and economic development. And it really focuses on, how we can use those social, look at the social determinants of health and how that impacts our economy and how the economy then impacts health. So
Yeah.
it's a really excellent conference.
And I think too, it's nice, we've restructured our conference. So we have, focuses for each day. And so, we're going to have a day focused completely on our health. We're going to have a day focused on our communities, and we're going to have a day focused on our economy. So I think that is a really great way to kind of, you can pick and choose what you want to come and learn about, whatever, sector you're in, what you're interested in, there's definitely something for you at our conference. So yes, I agree with that. So my last question for you, what we've talked about the conference, what would you tell people is your favorite part about the conference? What do you enjoy? Is there a topic or a panel that you're always interested in? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I'd have to go back to connections and networking, although I haven't seen, it's one conference I've been to that I've never felt like, oh, I already knew that, because even if you already know something, to hear somebody talking about it in the detail that they do at that conference is always helpful. But it's still the connections and the networking with there are always our state, senators are there, and our legislators. And so you get an opportunity to talk to people, and our college presidents, how often do you get a chance to sit down and talk to people, at that level about, what's going on in their area? So that's really nice. So I think the connections and everything. And of course, the awards are important because, I got one. So I have to say that. And I am very appreciative of this award. And this award means so much to me, and I appreciate being recognized by anybody who wants to recognize it. But I mean, I really appreciate that. Because I feel like I really do try hard to work with everybody and to advocate for economic growth and healthcare. But on the awards, and so that's why I want to tell people who are listening: be sure you get those award nominations in, because that means a lot to people when they are recognized. And I know that we all have people in our communities, they might not think that they're at, a level where they can get an award. I would never have thought of receiving this award, but I'm very appreciative of it, and know that, the people who nominated me are probably just as hardworking, just as, and they recognize me. So, I think that it's a good way to tell people how much you appreciate the work that they've done, and, recognize all the good, because the more we recognize our partners, it strengthens all of us. It strengthens all of us to stop and take a minute and say, I appreciate you and the work that you do. So I encourage people to get those award nominations in. I think you're probably going to be sending those notices out pretty soon, aren't you? With the conference coming up.
Yes, we are. So we are wanting to open our conference registration very soon. So please keep a lookout at our website, wvsolutions.net. And then our Power Performance Awards will open on July 1st. And that nomination form can be found on the website as well. I will drop that down in the chat so you guys can just kind of have that ready to go for when that opens. And, you know, self-nominations are encouraged as well. So please be willing to submit those as well. But that kind of wraps up our interview for today. Drema, thank you so much. It's such an honor to, you know, have this chat with you today, and even just to, you know, see you as a mentor. You know, we've been working together on the Alliance for what, 5 years now almost. So it's been a pleasure working with you and learning from you as well. And this, definitely, you are truly deserving of this award. You're just a true trailblazer. So thank you again for chatting with me.
Thank you so much, Brittany. And you take care of those two beautiful little kids.
Well, I will.
Haven't seen this girl's children, you should see them. They are absolutely adorable.
Oh yeah, you know, the working parent life, which all of us know too well. So
that's what it's all about.
Thank you again, Drema. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.